So you've seen the kit, you've seen the footage, and if you're like me, you were probably thinking, no, 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 and maybe a little bit of, look, Enfys Nest is probably the best marquee character we've had in games since Darth Sion, and she looks to have a lot of viability immediately, to the point where a lot of you are even wondering, is this character too OP? Is this character going to have a nerf? Now, we do actually have confirmation from CG that there will not be a nerf inbound for Enfys Nest, and so if you're thinking about buying this character because of how OP she looks, you can feel safe to do so without fear of a nerf. Here's the post. They asked, are you going to be nerfing her kit already? And they said, we have no plans to modify or balance her kit at this time. We expect her to be a great character to slot into a wide variety of teams, that she will be a strong answer to teams that prevent characters from taking turns. And so this is very notable that this is a direct counter to characters that remove turn meter and characters that, say, fracture or freeze you, that kind of thing. It's basically a slap in the face to turn meter removal, which I think is a really interesting mechanic and very miserable to go against. And so it's time to start theory crafting and finding ways that Enfys Nest can work best. Now, some of the game changers did show that Enfys Nest was able to work against the Triumvirate, which I think is very, very good to see from an offensive standpoint. But a lot of you are also wondering, how can I build the best defensive team possible in the arena? And I think Enfys Nest has potential to make the Triumvirate one of the best defensive teams in the game, even better if you pair her with the Triumvirate instead. And the team that I've been running here is Traya, Nihilus Sion with Traya in the leadership spot, Enfys Nest, and Grand Admiral Thrawn. And based on what I'm seeing, I've got this team on defense. I'm showing you footage now. Attacking this team, it feels pretty miserable. Now, I am showing you all of the footage in this video is going to be some of the top meta teams according to SWGOH.GG's meta report. These are some of the most used teams in the game, and they all struggle against this team. Now, not every single team is going to lose, so it's not necessarily an automatic loss. That said, it's pretty miserable to fight. And in the arena, something that's really important to keep in mind is it's not necessarily about building a defensive team that is unbeatable. Now, that would be awesome if you could do that, and that would, by definition, be an amazing defensive team. More realistically, though, it's about building a team that is miserable to fight. That's what made General Kenobi and Barriss so OP back in the day. I know I just swore, but that mechanic was so annoying to fight until we had ways to get around it a little more effectively. That is how I feel Enfys Nest is working with the Triumvirate. Now, what makes it so annoying, apart from what we already know about the Triumvirate, is Enfys Nest's unique ability, Fighting Instinct. It's going to give her 80% counter chance. So you're basically turning her into the Wampa, which is, I think, Arnold compared her to the Wampa. You're going to ignore Taunt, so it's kind of compared to Commander Luke Skywalker, only better, because it's persisting. And when Nest is damaged by an attack, she gains 30% critical chance and 40% bonus protection, stacking until the end of her next turn. So you can have a ton of critical damage or critical chance and bonus protection stacking on her anytime you attack her, making her very, very hard to take down. You can see here there's some battles here where, for example, this Commander Luke Skywalker team, where I'm able to take out the Triumvirate, everything's going well, Thrawn's out of the battle, and then you're just attacking Nest, and nothing happens. You cannot make any progress on Nest because of this mechanic, especially if you fracture. So you can see at one point here, I have it on auto. I actually take it off auto and put basic on because I'm trying not to, I'm trying to give Nest a turn so that it can disappear. And with all the turn meter reduction on this team, I'm not able to do so. And so that's very frustrating. But even when Nest does take a turn and that disappears, she has critical damage stacking and health steal stacking as well. Whenever an enemy loses a buff or a debuff, Nest gains stacking, critical damage, and health steal. So she's going to have good health steal, especially towards the end of encounters as well. So here's what it really comes down to with this team. You need to annihilate everybody. The best counter to this team is going to be to annihilate Nest, Nihilus, Treya, and Scion all at the same time. Even Thrawn is going to be somebody that you really don't want to attack much. You just want to annihilate, because when you have Fracture up there, Thrawn is going to have a lot of counter chance. He's going to end up stunning you eventually, speeding you up, giving you ability blocks, stunning you, all of those things. So you really don't want to attack Thrawn out the gate. You don't want to attack Nihilus, because Nihilus is going to be so tanky, especially when you've got debuffs on Scion or Treya. You're not going to want to attack Treya because she's got that bonus protection at the beginning of encounters. That's real. I mean, you just, there's no point in attacking her almost. Nest is obviously pretty inconsequential to attack because she's going to be gaining that protection so frequently when you attack her. Really, the best solution is going to be to give Nest that annihilate. And then, of course, you're also not going to want to attack Scion because of how tanky he is, and especially if he ends up gaining held by hatred, you're in trouble. So when attacking this team, I tried a bunch of different things. It's very challenging to go against. What I found the most success with was having Nihilus on my team. And I targeted Thrawn first. Now, it sucks to target Thrawn first because he has that counter chance, especially when he has Ebb and Flow Zeta. When he has Fracture out there, he's going to be countering you every time. And that's just really annoying to deal with. However, I never find it very effective to go for Nihilus early in the battle just because he's going to be so hard to burn through. Scion, you're going to want to have a Fracture on him if you can, depending on what team you have, but he takes so long to burn through. Getting Thrawn out of the picture as soon as possible and then dealing with the 4 seemed to be the most effective route. But then from there, look at what you're left with. You got to burn through a Nihilus somehow, and then Enfys Nest, you pretty much just have the option to annihilate her. I did find some success with the JTR team in getting her out of there. What you need is for her to take a turn so that protection is out, and then have a way to one-shot her so that she's out of there, or a way to get rid of health and avoid the protection. Now, I actually tried this as well with Night Sister teams, but the problem is I had a hard time having Plague take much effect because she has the health steal up as well whenever enemies gain buffs or lose buffs or debuffs. She's going to gain that health steal. And so I even found that Plague was not able to be super effective. I even tried it with Plague and Sauvage Press for several battles. That was hard to get to work. It was very challenging to get that to work because I was never able to get her into the yellow long enough, and even if I was, Scion was probably taunting, and so it was hard to get Nest out of there in time. The most effective offense I found for this team was simply to have Annihilate ready, to have your Nihilus there, to try to take the cooldowns as much as possible, get him up to Annihilate as soon as possible, and I actually found it better to pick off Nihilus first and then Enfys Nest. But even then, take a look at this battle we're watching right now. We are down to just about a minute left of the battle. Even though I'm able to pull this one out, it takes so long to beat this team. And again, the arena defense is about what is miserable to face. Anytime you're getting down to the last minute of a battle, pretty miserable team to be going up against. The good thing about Enfys Nest when you're going against her is she's not super threatening, not like a Nihilus or a Treya, that kind of thing. So it is plausible to save her for last, but the thing is you're just going to want to make sure your Nihilus stays alive. I found it was very, very challenging to win when you have Nihilus on your own team, to win when Nihilus got annihilated himself. Now, that can be a very, very bad scenario for you going against this team. Something else to keep in mind when attacking this team, if you do see it, is when you get down to Nest being the only character left, it can be pretty counterproductive to Fracture Nest, because what you need is for her to take a turn so that she loses that stacking bonus protection she gets. If you pin her down with a Fracture, then that protection is just going to stack and stack and stack, and you're going to make zero progress whatsoever. So if you, assuming you don't have Annihilate, so if you don't have Annihilate ready, you need her to take a turn, and then you need to save a really big attack for her, maybe a Whirlwind with a Ahsoka Fulcrum, or maybe Rey Jedi Training's big attack. I did find that to work sometimes, but it's pretty challenging to get to work effectively. So, what are some of your thoughts on this team? This team definitely looks very, very miserable to fight. It's a team that I am not anxious to see in my arena shards. In fact, part of me hesitates sharing this video because I don't want my shard mates to start using it, because I know some of them will have Enfys Nest ready to go at 7 stars, Gear 12 here before too long. What are some other compositions you think Enfys Nest will work in? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, my brothers, don't forget.
For my dead body. Sorry about the mess.